Hi, everybody. I want to talk to you today about an issue that affects almost every adult American several times, sometimes many times throughout their lives, and it's jury duty. I got the summons a couple of weeks ago. I made the phone call on Friday. I listened to the recording, and sure enough, my juror number came up, and I had to report in bright and early on Monday morning. And I did what everybody else did. I sat there going, are they going to call my name? Are they going to call my name? Are they going to call my name? And it turns out they didn't call my name, which was a relief to me for reasons I'll get into in just a moment, but maybe it shouldn't have been. Oh, by the way, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle on Jury Duty. We all kind of dread it, don't we? Listen, gentlemen, I got to tell you, 4 years ago, almost exactly, I got called into jury duty. It was the first time I actually did serve on a jury, and I pleaded with the judge and the counsel not to have to serve on this jury. I begged to be put on any other case. It was a child pornography case. I have two young sons. They were 8 and 3 at the time, and I didn't want to go home after this trial and look at my sons any differently, and I was really bitter that I had to sit on that jury, and that bitterness has lingered, and I was afraid it was going to happen again, even though that lightning was probably not going to strike twice. So what is it, gentlemen? We have this sacred constitutional right to trial by jury, and yet everybody seems to hate it. Scott, what do you do when you get the summons? Do you dread it? Do you look forward to it?
You know, I don't know that I have ever received one. And I don't
like 4 of them now. What am I doing wrong?
That is shocking.
My wife just did a month or so ago and wound up, she had to go to the court place and didn't. No, that's not true. Once I have received one, and they called me the night before and said, don't come. And so, you know.
Because you live in Texas, there's no crime there.
That was that was as close as I could get. Yeah, in my area of Texas, it's actually growing, so we're getting more crime. But you're right, relatively speaking, it's a great area to live. You know, the only encounter I've really had with court was actually when I was once a witness, and they had me come to the courtroom, and I sat out in the hallway, and I waited while they were talking to the defendant, who, upon seeing that I had arrived on the scene, decided he'd take the deal. And so, because this was the guy who was a purse snatcher. I was inside of a store that I worked in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and I heard a woman scream, and I'm wearing like a suit and wingtip shoes. And I ran outside, and this woman screamed, and she said, that guy took my purse, and I saw him just disappearing around the corner. So idiotically, I start to run after the guy and actually ran him down, which really surprised me because he was like 21 and pretty good condition. But I caught up with him. So I'm like 10 feet behind him, and he stops, and he turns around and looks at me. And I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought this through.
What if somebody stands up to me, right?
And I said, give me the purse back. And he set it down and walked away. But anyway, so I called the police, and the upshot of it all was that guy would have probably walked if not for the fact that the witness showed up. And so, you know, the court system is such a mess that I think that a lot of people are like, you know what, this is going to go on and on. I have things to do. I can't be out of work. The paperwork's piling up. The kids got to get to soccer. You know, they all have their excuses for not wanting to be there, and they don't think about the crucial role, which I'm sure you'll get into, Steve, that a jury trial plays in our constitutional republic. By the way, when you posted to Facebook that you were going to have jury duty and you asked for creative suggestions for getting out of jury duty, I suggested that you tell them what you do for a living. And then and somebody else said, tell them you know Scott Ott.
That was my trump card. I was ready to play it, but I didn't actually get called into a courtroom to sit on a jury.
I thought that would have worked like a charm.
I'm sure it would have. Hey, listen, Bill, Scott brought up, or were you done, Scott?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're good. Bill, Scott brought up plea bargains, which is interesting to me. Is somewhat off topic, but I can bring this back around. You know, plea bargains are basically where the prosecution blackmails you with a sentence that is frightening into pleading to a lesser offense instead of having to go through a trial. And a lot of innocent people end up taking the plea bargain because it's just easier and cheaper. And in my to me, it's just wrong. If I could amend the Constitution, I would
Yeah.
I would get rid of plea bargains. But I'm thinking if you did that, one of two things would happen, both of them good. Either the call for juries would increase so much that people would revolt and demand all these stupid laws be repealed, or prosecutors would have to be a lot more selective in what charges they actually brought against people. And I think either one of those would be a huge benefit. Is that how you see jury duty, or do you not mind getting the summons?
Well, the whole plea bargaining thing, I want to say, started in the late 60s and early 70s when the crime rates really just started to skyrocket.
Yeah.
And they were more than the system can handle. And they basically said, we do not have anything like the court capacity to try all of these cases. And so let's start making a deal. And and to be perfectly honest with you, a plea bargain's not a bad option for a society if we're talking about relatively minor crimes and certainly people who committed the crimes. If I was ever accused of a crime that I didn't commit and somebody offered me a plea bargain, I'd say, you can take this plea bargain and walk it right into Ruth Bader Ginsburg because I didn't do anything and you can't prove something that I didn't do. So bring it on. And I suspect that alone would probably be enough to have them drop the charges. But in any event, plea bargaining is not an optimal solution, but given the fact that most of the crime that happens in the kind of court cases that you're called for in jury duty, the huge majority of them are 1 or 2 day cases. So I had two experiences with jury duty, and I would have thought they would have occurred in a different order, in the reverse order. The first one was several years ago, and somebody said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a conservative political commentator." I was already on the panel at this point.
Oh.
And the defense said, "Juror number 11 is dismissed with our thanks." It's like, here's a law and order guy, and we don't want a law and order guy on there. I heard people in the hallway telling me that they were dismissed because they knew what DNA was.
Wow.
But that makes sense. Because if you know what DNA is, you've got a pretty good idea of what a DNA identification is. And if you're the defense attorney, you don't want people to know how damning that is. And I'm sorry I have to transgress just for one moment.
No, please.
If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're either sick or in trouble with the law, do not scrimp on doctors or lawyers under any circumstances. I was at the University of Florida as a theater major, and one of the things that we did there, I think during summer school, was that the university law department would come to the theater department and recruit actors to play witnesses in all of these mock trials.
Oh, cool.
Or witnesses or various other things. And these were with actual practicing district attorneys and public defenders. And I went in there and they give you a little, it's like a paragraph. You are an FBI fingerprint expert. You've removed the prints from this, and the prints match the prints match that of the defendant. That's all I had to do, and the rest of it's just improv. So just to get this out of my system. So this actual honest to God practicing public defender said, Agent Thompson, you are an expert in fingerprinting? Yes, sir. Can you describe your training? Now I'm like improvising. At 4.5 years with the Federal Bureau of Investigation in Quantico, Virginia, and 6 years on the staff of the Alachua County Sheriff's Department. So these fingerprints that you found on the weapon, you say match the defendant's. I said, yes, it's a positive match. But it could have been somebody else's hand too, right? Sorry? It could have been somebody else's fingerprints. Yes, it matched my defendant, but it could have been a bunch of other people too. Sir, fingerprints are absolutely unique. It's been proven through 200 years of jurisprudence now that fingerprints are 100% unique. But it could have belonged to somebody else, right? And at this point, the judge steps in and says, "That's enough." Actually, I did say, "I'm sorry. Are you questioning the authenticity of fingerprinting as a means of identification? Is that what?" And the judge after I said that, the judge just said, "Sit down."
But this was a real judge too, to go along with the real DA and everything.
This was a I want to say this was a law school professor.
Nice.
But the one I did have, and this was very illuminating to me, was I did actually get impaneled afterwards, and I said I was told them what I did, and they put me on the jury anyway, which astonished me, because I was going to go in with the black hood and the axe, the executioner's
sure.
axe, and hopefully we get a parking ticket. But they don't buy that crap in L.A. anymore. You can't go, I'm prejudiced against criminals. Well, too bad. You're on jury duty. So the one time I was actually on a actual jury, I was the foreman, and because nobody else wanted the job.
Yeah.
And to keep this very short, this was a case of interfering with the police on the part of a girlfriend. The police rolled up on this scene. They were making a lot of noise. They put like 12 or 13 of these guys up against a wall, handcuffed them, just doing the basics, And one of these guys' girlfriends came in and started hitting this policeman. And the defense was, look at my client. Look how small she is. She's 98 pounds. Look at Officer so-and-so on. He's 190 pounds. How can my client's hitting that officer possibly interfere with his duties? And I just said to myself, you've just admitted that your client committed the crime of which she has been accused, And I went into the jury room with this. And to my horror, I ran into people who had been watching so much CSI and so much JAG and stuff that they were sure that there had to be a twist here, But what's the twist? In other words, we see that this is the evidence, but what's the real story? And I'm not joking about this. Wow. Finally, we got one charge. We got a conviction on one charge and a dismissal of the other. But if I hadn't been there, that person would have walked scot-free for sure. Wow. And interesting that the only other ally I had on the jury from the beginning was this wonderful little black lady from, I think she said she was from Compton, and you would expect, given the pop culture, that she's going to say, oh, the police are all a bunch of liars. She's like, no, it's pretty clear. She did it and she shouldn't have done it. So the presence of a melodramatic expectation and conspiracy on the part of the cops and stuff, although he could have been making that up. Well, we don't have any evidence that he did or he didn't. We have to judge the evidence that was given, and here's what the evidence was, It was a little alarming.
I bet. Listen, folks, I came in all ready to get out of jury duty, and I read through the cute little messages that people left me on Facebook, and some people left me lectures about my civic duty and all that. It was supposed to be a lighthearted post. But when I was filling out my juror questionnaire, I listed things like your interest, clubs, and hobbies include libertarianism and the National Rifle Association. So I'm pissing
and attending executions.
Yeah, I'm pissing off the prosecutor and the defense attorney, right? I'm trying to get out all of this stuff. What I watch on TV, legal shows and history. What I like to read, Murray Rothbard, political blogs, just pretty much everything I could throw at them at both sides to increase my chances of getting rejected. But I'll tell you, after I'd finished out my questionnaire, one of the judges came out to give us a little pep talk, a little lecture, a little explanation about how these things work. And he started off by reminding us, although it might have been news to some people, that the absolute right to a jury trial is pretty unique to the United States of America. It's enshrined in our Constitution, and it is one of the most important rights we have. And it occurred to me that there is a flip side to that right to be tried by a jury of your peers, and that is the jury system gives you the right to help protect your neighbors and your fellow citizens, to either protect them from dangerous criminals who need to be locked up, or to protect them from overzealous prosecutors who are going after innocent people or prosecuting them under laws
that is a profound observation.
Or in the case of jury nullification, to let people go from unjust laws. And I think that's a vital right. So when they didn't call my name, when they said I was dismissed, I breathed a sigh of relief, and I counted on my luck. But as I look back on what that judge said and what I thought about it later, I have to wonder, did I have good luck or bad luck? And that's your right angle on jury duty, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. If you like what you see, please click on over, become one of our citizen producers. We would love to have you on board. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.